broadcasting live from Auburn, Washington. Auburn is about 25-30 miles south of Seattle. It's a little closer, it's not quite halfway to between Tacoma and Seattle. It's a little closer to Tacoma if you're going in between the area, for those not familiar with the geography. We are here at the Justice for Jesse Sarey event, which is happening in front of the Auburn Justice Center, aka the Auburn Police Department. Jesse was shot by an Auburn police officer after somebody called 911 saying essentially he was having a mental breakdown. There was a scuffle that ensued. Time from scuffle to Jesse was essentially dead on the ground, 4 seconds. Officer is back on duty, and the family wants answers to that. So we'll go ahead and get started here shortly. They're playing music at the moment. For those of you who are new to the stream or not familiar with the stream or not familiar with streaming, when music is playing like this, if you get up and it's really loud, Facebook in particular can knock the stream off the air because it goes, hey, you're playing disc jockey, when we're not playing disc jockey. We're just trying to show the story for what it is. So I'm actually probably about 3/4 of a block away from there. Please support independent media. We really like your support. You can support me on Venmo, you can support me on PayPal, you can support me on Patreon. All of that information is up there. On there. Also, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. We are on Twitch, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And so with that, let me go ahead and turn the camera around, and we'll go ahead and we'll send you up. All of that information is up there. And if you'll just bear with me here for a minute, we will get the stream started. Or at least I will try to get the stream started. All right, I think we're in business now. There is a moderate police presence is here. The police are actually being, look, I'll give credit where credit's due. If you watch the stream, you know that I give credit where credit's due across the board. I would say that the police are being accommodating. They have closed off the road. They are essentially observing the event. I'm not going to try to be cynical here and say, you know, I hope that they're providing safety, that somebody isn't going to come and drive through. I hope that Auburn police behaves better than Seattle police and some of the things that I've witnessed that SPD has done. And I'll call it as I see it. And I've seen SPD flat out just not give a fluck on these matters. But there is a cordon of bicycle officers, and they are gathered up in 3 areas. I would estimate there's probably about 30 or 40 people here at the time. However, things haven't started up yet. And typically my experience, and again, if you've watched the streams and if you know these activities, typically these events don't exactly start on time. So, but this is really about justice for Jesse and holding the police accountable. And it's another very, very sad example of when police are called for somebody in a mental health crisis and an individual shows up and they're equipped for failure. They're equipped for failure. You know, if you're a law enforcement officer and your primary tools that are hanging around your waist are a sidearm and a baton and a taser and pepper spray, and you're wearing body armor, and that's how you roll every day out for work, and you're dealing with people who are in simple mental health crisis or drug addicted or alcohol addicted, in situations where a social worker or other de-escalation techniques that are used in many other parts of the world to deal with people that are in crisis, those officers are just set up for failure. And this is why I don't like the term defund the police. I like the terms demilitarize the police or unburden the police. And I wrote a little bit about that earlier today. So admins are going to be on the comments and monitoring the comments, and Again, if you are just tuning in, we're in Auburn, Washington. Auburn, Washington is about 30-ish miles south of Seattle, maybe about 15 miles, 10 miles north of Tacoma. And the event is starting. Or I think they're doing sound check right now. And right now there's a pretty large, when I say large, it's a very large area and people are very spread out.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. If I kind of do a slow pan. Thank you.
I'm malcontent.
Hello, hello. Thanks for the shout out. If you do a little kind of a pan here, you can see there's probably about 40 or 50 people that are here, and people continue to trickle in. And again, as I say, my experience has been over the last couple of months, these actions, these protests, these memorial services tend to start not exactly on time. Kimberly, that is a great question, and actually you're playing some music here so I could talk over the music. Both of my kids at certain points of time went to school here. And one of my kids is actually a graduate of the school district that's out of here. So yes, I do have skin in the game. And the other thing is I met with Jesse's parents at a different event in Seattle. I want to say late June, it might have been early July. They told me their story. They specifically asked me to come, and I promised them I would come. And I actually moved things on my calendar, both from work and personal, to make sure that I could be here to keep my promise. Because I've said many times on the stream, the truth is the only thing at the end of the day, and integrity. And so, you know, what good is my word if I don't keep my word? Especially with a family that is grieving. So that is why I'm down here. But yes, I do have skin in the game, specifically for the community in Auburn. It's a great question, and it's an appropriate question. There was a conversation I was having with Joey Wiesner yesterday, and Joey and I were kind of having this discussion about, you know, if you're going outside of kind of your community or areas where you don't have involvement, are you, as a streamer, as an independent reporter, are you, to use the phrase, ambulance chasing? It's a complicated, right? It's a complicated question. I think it all kind of depends on the scope and the story and what your motivations are and what you're trying to cover. But anyway, it's a great question. It's a very, very fair question. Justine, yeah, I'll tell you what I know about Jesse's story. So Jesse was 26 years old. His parents came here to escape the Khmer Rouge, which was the Cambodia and the killing fields. A movie to watch, if you're not familiar with Cambodia, and what happened there, is to watch the killing fields. Oh, let's tip up the camera here. Hey everybody, say hi to Auburn Police Department. It'll take a few seconds for the camera to probably tilt up. I have about a 20-second lag on my monitor. I want to reposition the camera. I think I have to angle it up a little bit more. Sorry. I'm always stunned at how far I have to angle up the camera for people to see stuff. Hey, there you are, now you can see. Say hello to Auburn's finest. Who are kind of watching up here from the roof of the police station. So they have a pretty strong presence as more people are growing. Back to Jesse's story. He was 26 years old. Jesse was kind of maligned in the press. He does have a former criminal record, but as I said many, many times before, the U.S. Constitution is crystal clear. Street executions aren't legal in the United States. And likewise, if you generally look at how criminal prosecutions happen, in most cases, not in all cases, but in most cases, prior criminal convictions are not supposed to play into the decision when a criminal case is presented up in court. Enough of procedural on that. Jesse was having a mental health crisis. There was a 911 call came in that he was kind of like throwing trash, had knocked over a trash can. Witnesses there described it as he was having a mental breakdown. A City of Auburn police officer showed up. Jesse was also a homeless individual at the time because he was known to have mental health issues. Auburn police officer showed up. Auburn police officer told him he was going to be arrested for disorderly conduct. Jesse was like, basically, no, you're not going to arrest me for disorderly conduct. A scuffle ensued. From cut it out to Jesse was dead on the ground was 4 seconds. That was it. And Jesse was shot twice. And there was not like a pow pow. There was a pow, I'm going to wait, and then pow, another shot. And the second shot is because the officer felt that Jesse had grabbed a pocket knife and in that scuffle with the officer, and the officer still felt after shooting him the first time in the chest and Jesse laying on the ground that Jesse was still a threat, and fired the second shot, which ultimately killed him. That is the story in a really tight nutshell. And I would presume that the family will go ahead and explain their story as things get formed up. And the crowd continues to grow. And quite honestly, at this point, when I look around at like the different groups, I think everybody has a private police officer assigned to them at this point. The police presence actually continues to grow. Which, I mean, you have here a group of peaceful protesters. And then we have Auburn PD. They look like they're dressed actually like the SWAT team, which in itself is like, this is what I mean by when I say demilitarize the police, right? The question then kind of comes up. Does a community like Auburn need armored vehicles and a dedicated SWAT team? Or are those better resources applied into, oh, he decided to go away when the camera was up. I could raise the camera really high, but I won't do that. But this is something that I've talked about before. It's like, does a town like Auburn need a SWAT unit, right? Can't that just be handled by a consolidated unit in King County or a few strategically located SWAT units? Do they need to have the militarized wing? I will say this, there is a very large police presence. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers over here that, they look like they're dressed for a riot, basically, which, if you kind of look at everybody that's around here, it just seems like it's overkill. I'm calling it as I see it. And over here you have a squadron of bike officers. And this just doesn't come across as an event that your people that are not aligned to Black Lives Matter, such as Black Bloc or anarchists, it just doesn't seem like the kind of event that they're going to show up at. But again, if the music's playing, I have to keep yakking because otherwise I get knocked off the air. I guess this is just, part of the frustration, because something that I have experienced in streaming going back to May 30th now is that, I have to bring a helmet, I have to bring knee pads, I have to bring gloves, I have to bring, oh God, I forgot my knee pads today. I have to have a gas mask with me because it's consistently been what I've seen. Just an over response, over and over and over and over again. Do I want to be walking around carrying 20 pounds of safety equipment? No, of course not. And I can tell you that, people in the independent media, people in the, I mean, Omari talks all the time about like how much he hates having to wear the body armor when he has to put the body armor on, right? It's heavy as fuck. It's hot, it's not comfortable, and it just shouldn't have to be that case.
I go to civil rights rally and I put down,
you know,
DAR.
I don't know.
DAR, that's the rights of the American.
I mean, here, if I go and I walk back, let me walk back here.
Sydney and Sammy, I hope every colored boy becomes a star.
Right, so here you go. You probably got about 60-ish people now. I think you got about 60-ish people now. And, you know, we got the SWAT team on the roof. And you know, people mostly in, you know, jeans and t-shirts and pullovers. By the way, if you're looking at it, it's like, why is everybody in hoodies? It's cold here today. We had a really weird August day here in Seattle. And if I come over here, right, I mean, we've got the bike officers, but over here, there's a large group of police officers down here. So there is a very, very significant, sorry about that, there's a very, very significant police presence here for what is a minor peaceful protest. I don't know. It just seems like such overkill. Amanda, we're in Auburn, Washington. We're in Washington State. This is about 30 miles south of Seattle.
I've learned to take every view. You know, I've memorized Lerner and Golden. I feel like I'm almost a Jew. But when it comes to times like Korea, there's no one more red, white, and blue. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal.
So what'll happen from here, I don't know if I'll join. It kind of depends on what time this ends. I may join the everyday march. Things have been a little spicy. I think people are starting to equate the term spicy to, tear gas and pepper spray, and that's not what I mean. Maybe salty is the better word. Things have been a little salty up in Capitol Hill. So I may head up with there if I can't intercept the everyday march. But it all kind of depends on what time this ends. And I think we may be getting started here. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate that information. That was a recording, Justine. I don't know who the artist was.
We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Katrina Johnson. I am an organizer, advocate, and cousin of Charlena Lyles, who was killed by Seattle Police Department. And I just want to thank all you guys for coming out here today to uplift the family of Jesse Sarey as they demand answers, justice, and accountability into his murder. And also uplifting the other families from the Auburn area whose loved ones have been lost to the police use of deadly force. And so we're going to go ahead and open up today, and we're going to have a welcoming by Kanisha Sarey.
My name is Kanisha Sarey, and it is my pleasure on behalf of my cousin Jesse Sarey to have you guys all here with us today. Okay.
That is totally okay. It's okay to be nervous. So now we will have an opening by the Muckachu tribe. We'll have Rachel come forward and all the members to do a blessing.
Muckleshoot Tribe Reservation and Casino are located here. Kimberly, I think you're correct on that.
Good evening, everybody. First, I want to acknowledge the families that are out here demanding justice for their loved ones. And so I want to start with that. But the main thing we wanted to start this with in a good way is just acknowledging the land that we're on. We're here, my name is Rachel Heaton, I'm a Muckleshoot tribal member. Everyone that you see up here is also part of the Muckleshoot tribe and the community at large. We are very aware of losing loved ones by the police and police brutality. And this is about a system that needs to be held accountable. We need to talk about, I know we come out and we talk about our demands, but we also need to talk about solutions. So solutions on, are we going to defund the police? Are we going to put policies in place for more de-escalation policy? Are we going to put more money into social services? Are we going to put money in places that help our community? And so Native communities were very familiar with, this is a system. It's a system of oppression. And forgive me for, we have our families up here, and it's hard when we have to talk about these subjects. These aren't easy subjects to talk about. This is reliving, systems. This is reliving, tragedy. This is reliving experiences, and so this isn't a happy-go-lucky conversation. So I apologize for my pause, but again, we need to talk about solutions. We have to talk about, what do we want to see from our community? What do we want to see from this system? What do we want to see when a policeman enters a home or enters a community, and how those are going to be handled? So when we talk about this, let's talk about solutions. But first of all, I just again want to acknowledge our community on stolen land. And I'm going to actually have one of my family members give a little bit more history. We think it's important that we acknowledge stolen land, that we understand the land that we're on, the history, because as we know, these systems are rooted in racism, they're rooted in brutality, and so we can't talk about these systems without talking about the history. And so that's why we wanted to open this up in this way. So I'm going to pass that over to Justice Bill, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Quangalaput si ab de isha, Justice Bill Tietsta, Muckleshoot Obstra. My name is Justice Bill. I'm an enrolled member of the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, and I'm also Tlingit from Southeast Alaska. And yeah, as Rachel was saying, I just wanted to expand a little bit more on our people's ties to this region. Our main village in this area was called Alaco, and it was just right over there, kind of where you see the bridge crossing over to Lee Hill. And that was one of our biggest villages. There are several big houses, and I believe there's also a potlatch house. But our people spanned from the Cascade Mountains all the way to what we call the Salish Sea. We're the recognized tribe of the King County area, and my family and we've been active in several of the demonstrations in the past few months, and I just want to let the broader community know that we stand with you. And I think that's all I got. Thank you. The song that we're going to share tonight is it's called the Chief Dan George song, and it's used today as the anthem for the Coast Salish people.
Don't forget to do a watch party or share if you want
Thank
to
you so
share the
much.
story and the events that are being shown here. It
Now
helps
we're
spread the
gonna have
word and it
words
helps
from
show
impacted
the real
families.
story of what's happening.
It's not easy for families to get up here and
Kimber,
pour
we're
their
in
hearts
Auburn.
out and to speak their truth. And so please just give them time to be able to get out what they want to say, and just love on them and support them, because that's what we need right now. And so we'll have the family of E.J. Strickland come up, and their loved one will they'll have a song before they speak.
Thank you for that, Kimberly.
Cyrus, we knew it was Cyrus. Love you guys, though. I don't want to get out, but we gon' be out. You feel me?
So, I want to be respectful, but unfortunately with the song playing, I have to keep talking so the feed doesn't get knocked off. So, I will kind of talk as low as I can, and I think the other thing I'll try and do is just kind of hide the microphone a little bit. Kimber, thank you for sharing the feed, much appreciated. If things sound a little weird and muffled, it's just because I have a lav microphone. What I've done is I've kind of wrapped it in cloth and have it jammed up against my throat. So I'm just trying. If I don't talk over the song, unfortunately what can happen is Facebook or YouTube, those two are, Facebook's really bad, but YouTube's getting pretty bad. Either of the two could knock off the feed. We do broadcast concurrently on the Malcontent Tango. You can watch us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. I know lots of people in the past were like, oh, please get on Twitch or please get on YouTube because I would love to watch this on TV. Not to discourage people being on Facebook, but if you want to throw this up on your TV set using Twitch or YouTube, I am the Malcontent on YouTube and also on Twitch. I kept my word. You're welcome. I told you we would be here. Joey and I talked. I know Joey and I talked yesterday, and I would be here. So. David, we talked. I know you've talked to a lot of people. And again, apologies for talking over the song, but if I stop talking, the stream can get knocked off. So I have to keep talking. That was Jesse's mom that I was talking to. All right.
Hello? Thank you. You guys got me with that. That was a song that one of EJ's cousins wrote for him and performed it at his funeral. Hello, my name is Kathleen Ilima Kaliikoa. My son was Anosa Strickland Jr. At home, we called him EJ. On May 20th, 2019, EJ was beaten and shot in the back of his head by an Auburn police officer while waiting for a ride from his parents. Honestly, I never wanted to speak out about our case until our case went public. Not at the 2 Black Lives Matter rallies and not today. One reason is because I'm terrified about speaking in front of people. I'm not a speaker. But also, The reason it being is because I didn't want to offend anyone. But at the same time, I'm also not ashamed of my beliefs. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone or that I'm right or anyone else is wrong. We live in a country where we have the freedom to believe what we want to believe. I can only speak for myself. Me, my husband, and some of my family members have always backed the blue. We're not anti-police, we're not anti-government, and we're not anti-American. In fact, we're just the opposite. The reason me and my family backed the blue is because we had a great example of an officer in our lives. My father, EJ's grandfather. He was a security police in the United States Air Force and served over 20 years. He was a Vietnam veteran. He served his country with pride, and he was a quiet, good, humble, and honest man. He would go on to become a correctionals officer at the California State Institution for Men. This is where EJ came to be a huge Lakers and Rams fan. My father would work there for 20 years. My father was ready to retire. His last day working was on a Friday, and 2 days later, he suffered a massive heart attack and passed. EJ was a young teenager when that happened. At EJ's grandfather's funeral, besides the countless military men and COs that attended the service, there were also inmates that he had previously guarded in attendance. That's the kind of person my father was. He was a man of his word, and the inmates respected him for that. I have many wonderful stories of my father and of his good works, but we don't have time for that. He was our Hawaiian Superman. EJ is one out of 50-something first cousins. EJ and his cousins were raised together and are as close as brothers and sisters as you can get. Some of his cousins and uncles currently serve or have served in some form of the United States government branch. These are good people, and we need good people in the right place serving and fighting for our country. I'm grateful for their service and for all the other countless people that serve our country. We're not anti-Americans. We live in the best country in the world. I'm not saying that the way America came to be was rosy perfect and that the people before us didn't make mistakes. Believe me, I get it. I'm Hawaiian, and our Hawaiian lands were taken from us. I can only hope that we as a country recognize the mistakes made in the past and try our best not to make those same mistakes. EJ has many traits like his grandfather. He was a good, honest person, and he loved his city, his friends and family, and most importantly, his Savior. He was raised to respect and trust the law. The officer that killed EJ that night, Officer Kenneth Lyman, isn't deserving to be a part of the blue. There are bad apples in the police force, and that's why our country is experiencing such turmoil and distress. There needs to be a change and a shift in the process and attitude of police brutality and police-involved killings. We've learned that the police cannot police themselves. The change needs to start at the top. We need to come together as the people in order to form a more perfect union and vote these people out of office.
Spam those hearts to show your support. Spam those hearts.
I don't understand why the mayor of Auburn police chief, and some of their investigative officers can say that they serve and protect Auburn citizens and then cover up the actions of an officer unfit for the job. The investigation that followed were never to find out the truth in EJ's case, but to justify the actions of this unfit officer. The Auburn Police Department started pushing their narrative out to the media just hours after killing EJ. My husband called them and told them, "Why are you making a statement when the case is an open investigation?" An officer on the other end of the phone said, "We owe it to the public." My husband responded back, "No, you owe the public the truth." Our case will eventually be brought out to light, and everyone will know what happened that night by the dash cam video, EJ's last words by the witness statements, and all the injuries that EJ sustained by the medical examiner's report. We are so disappointed in the way that Auburn has handled my son's case. The corruption is real. We've seen it, and it's right here in our community of Auburn. If this can happen to our family, it can happen to anyone else. We would never in a million years think this would happen to us. Now we sit on the other side and we see what the victim and their families have to go through. We miss our son terribly, and our hearts are broken that he's not here with us. Luckily, we have our faith to draw our strength from. As long as God is with us, it doesn't matter who is against us. I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but I just want to lastly say that we as a family believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous, and in doing good to all men. Indeed, we say that we follow the admonition of Paul. We believe all things, we hope all things, we have endured many things, and we hope to be able to endure all things. I say all these things in the name of my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Wow, that was powerful. That was powerful.
The next family member that we will have is Sonia Joseph.
You could feel the pain radiating off that family. That was one of
Thank
the
you all
hardest
for
shoots I've
coming.
ever done.
My name is Sonia Joseph, and my son Giovanni Joseph McDade was murdered June 24, 2017 in the city of Kent by Officer William Davis, who is now working at the Justice Center Training Facility, training all new cadets for the state of Washington, and he's training de-escalation training. I'm here to stand in solidarity with all of the families and all the demands. We're demanding that Auburn Police be defunded. We're demanding that they withdraw from the inquest process so that families can get answers and start healing. We're sick and tired of our families being murdered. We're sick and tired of the narratives that are being pushed out there to criminalize, dehumanize, and villainize our loved ones. And families are the front line, and we'll continue to fight no matter how long it takes. Thank you.
Next, we will invite Rochelle back to speak on behalf of Renee Davis's family.
Hello again. On October 21st, 2016, a phone call was made that was simply supposed to be just a well check. Renee Davis was in her home. She was with her children that were 2 and 3 years old. Within 60 seconds of the police entering her home, they shot her 3 times in the abdomen, in the chest, and then in the leg. She died bleeding of her injuries while the police stood over her. Officer Pritchard and Officer Lewis still held their jobs, have not been held accountable for her murder. She was a mother. She was pregnant. She was 5 months pregnant, so her baby died with her. Her children were in the home with her, and this was a mom. She was a community member. She was a hunter. She was a fisherwoman. She was an important part to every single one of us in our community. And I want to raise my hands to all the families that are out here speaking. This isn't easy, but these are stories that we need to hear. We have to hear these stories because the accountability isn't there. The accountability isn't, the policies are not being in place, the leadership is not listening, the de-escalation tactics are not happening, and this is an example. This was simply a well check. All they were doing was to check on her, and again, within 60 seconds, open fire on her. I have Rose James up here, who was with Renee the day that she passed, and she's going to share a little bit about her story so that you guys know a little bit about who Renee is, just like we're learning about these families, because these are beings, these are our hearts, these are our loved ones, and we need to remember them, not in vain, but we need to remember them so that we can prevent these things from happening. We need to hold these police accountable, and they have to be held to the same laws that we are held to as citizens, and that is clearly not being held. And it's sad that it's as simple as that. Be held to the same laws that we're held to. And maybe they'll think twice about opening that fire or finding another way to de-escalate a situation. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Rose, and thank you for all being here.
Okay. This is my first time ever speaking about this. You got this. You're okay. You got it. Renee was my best friend. I spent every day with Renee. We worked at the Muckleshoot Head Start together. That Friday was the same as every other Friday that we had shared before. We spent the whole day together, prepared our classrooms. She was a teacher. We prepared our classrooms for the following week. I helped her make art projects. We decorated our classroom, and we talked, and we went out to lunch with our other friends. It was a normal day. We talked about being pregnant together. I was pregnant with my son. Our sons would have been a month apart. Still so hard trying to be happy about having a baby when you know you're supposed to have a baby with your best friend and you can't do that together. That day haunts me every day still. I wish I could have did something different that day. I dropped her off to her kids that day. She went home. I went home, and I got a call, and my mom said, "Something happened to your friend. I'm coming to pick you up." And in my mind, I felt like I already knew who it was and what happened. And I drove up to Renee's house. My mom told me it was Renee. Something happened to Renee. I drove there, and the police made us think she shot herself. They never made us think she didn't shoot herself. So that whole time, I'm trying to figure out reasons maybe why she might have done this, but there was nothing. There was no reason for that to happen that day. It was a normal day. She was happy. She was excited for her baby. I don't know what happened in those 3 hours for her to lose her life and for her baby's life to be lost. Her baby's life, he will never be able to be with his sisters, be with his family, be with his mom, who was so excited to have a boy. She did not even know he was going to be a boy yet. She had three other daughters, and she was so excited for him. And you know, I just want to remind people that she was a provider. She was Muckleshoot. She was loving. She was caring. She was forgiving. She was a really great person, and we still miss her. Every day that passes, it gets harder because we miss her more and more. And, you know, we can't even feel, we are Muckleshoot, and we can't even feel comfortable to be on our own tribal land because the tribe contracts with King County. Those police have their own station up there, And they're so scared. They would go shoot a pregnant woman. They knew she was pregnant. They were there for less than 60 seconds and they shot her. That is not okay. That will never be okay. They need to be defunded. We need to put that money into resources to people that will go help, that will go and de-escalate a situation. We really need that. I don't want to be scared. I am scared now of the police. I'm scared for my Muckleshoot sons. I am scared for the new generation of kids, because if we don't hold them accountable, nothing will change and it will be the same thing. This is not new for Native people to have to deal with these kinds of things. This is not new, and I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I want justice for Renee and for Mossy. I do. Thank you.
Hard hearing.
Siren is unrelated ambulance
Next, we'll have
passing
Poe
through the area.
come up and speak on behalf of his cousin, Yosia Falatolo.
Yeah, there was Auburn has a airport very close by here, so that's why you hear some low-flying helicopters and airplanes from time to time.
Hey, give it up one more time for all the families that spoke already. My name is Poe Leapai, and before I start, I just want to let y'all know that I'm honored to be here and acknowledge the native land of this, the native people of this land. And second of all, I want to thank all the organizers here for allowing me to share my cousin's story. On December 31st, New Year's Eve, around 6 p.m. 2018 going into 2019, my cousin Yosia Falatolo was gunned down, murdered by Seattle Police Department, North Precinct. The same precinct that took Shay Taylor's life, the same precinct that took Charlene Lyle's life, the same precinct that took my cousin's life. On 4 different body cams, we see my cousin's hands spread out, fingers spread. He even said, "I'm not reaching," and then he got shot in the back of the head. He had four officers on top of him. You know, and since then, from that moment, we didn't even know my cousin had gotten shot or anything happened. He just didn't show up to the family gathering that night, and nobody knew why. About 6-7 hours later, we got word that our loved one had died. You know, and then we got the story, and then right away, the victim blaming started right away. The media, the police were in on it too. They painted a picture of him like it was his fault, and that wasn't cool. You know, his life mattered to our loved ones. He was 36 at the time, and he left 2 boys that were both under the age of 9. And now we the family have embraced the boys, obviously. We have no choice. That's our loved one that's left. You know, but we don't feel, I will tell you this too. As soon as my cousin was shot, aside from the Polynesian community that stepped up and embraced us, the black community stepped up and embraced us. That's how I met a lot of these families behind me now. They embraced my family. They put aside all the media, gossip and everything. And you know, I'm gonna be frank, I'm gonna be transparent with y'all today. If we don't victim blame rape victims, we should not victim blame our murdered loved ones. Real talk. You know, over a year and a half now, I saw the video of my cousin dying, and I saw it over 100 times. You know, I cried a bunch the first couple of times. Now I just have this hunger and this focus to get this done the right way. Legislation. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of things I've learned along the year and a half of attending meetings and everything in regards to this topic. And there are 2 things that are dear to my heart that I always want to speak on. The first thing I want to speak on is de-escalation training. I'm in big support of that, yes. But there's another part to that I think that we should think about. De-escalation training is pointless if they're raised and conditioned to be racist and biased. All I'm saying is check their head, check their heart before we give them a badge and a gun. If you're an officer and you look at a kid sagging his pants and you look at him with disgust, you gotta get up out of there, man. That's not the type of people we want serving our communities. Get to know our communities. Get that rubbish out of your heart before we hand you a badge and a gun.
Spam those hearts.
Our kids'
Spam
lives
those
matter.
hearts. If you like what you're
The
hearing,
second thing I
spam
want
those
to
hearts.
tell y'all and bring to light that's dear to my heart is civilian oversight. We need a place at the table. Let us put our people at the table so we can keep these police accountable. We can keep these people so we can just watch them. That's it. You know, and that's it. I'm going to say, and I'm going to need your help right here real quick. This was a special event for Jesse, so I want y'all to join me with this little chant real quick. When I say justice for, you say Jesse. Justice for? Jesse! Justice for? Jesse! Justice for? Jesse! No justice? No peace! That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. God bless y'all. The Strickland family, I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Approximately 50, 60 people are here.
I want to ask Victoria to come up, who has been brutalized by the police. She's just alive to be able to tell her story. Also in Auburn. So I want to give her a few minutes to speak.
Alec, welcome from New Zealand. Thank you for joining. Love the shout outs when people join us from other parts of the world. Really love that. Thank you.
Terrorizing me. In fact, did you hear that officer that was talking up there this whole time while everybody was speaking, especially the woman? That officer came to the teriyaki place that I was at just the other day. And when he walks in, he says, "Oh, it's the old famous Victoria." I can't have peace. They don't leave me alone.
By the
day
way,
before
the
that, I had
officer that
officers
was
in-
talking smack
At
earlier,
my building.
you know,
For
the
another
brave
emergency,
individual no
911.
longer on top of the roof.
Another officer took a picture of my car.
I say brave
For no
sarcastically.
So when they say that 4 people attacked and killed and murdered, they did it. And it is true. Because of the lightness of my skin and because I am a female, I survived. Barely. They are not afraid when they are hurting us. It is almost erotic for them. They are so high that they don't have self-awareness. Their eyes are as if they just shot a hard drug into their veins. And in that rush is pumping to all these different manly body parts, their muscles, their loins. They are enjoying it. They enjoy to see us afraid because it gives them status. In Auburn, especially in this little city, in the history, and in the segregated ways that it was, these officers attach their masculinity to our trauma, our pain, and our death. One day I'll talk about my story, but I mostly want to talk about them. They got my criminal record, sure, no problem, but that was insulting to be a victim, and the first thing they do, don't even get me a statement, but they go to my criminal record to build a case against me immediately. That disgusts me because I needed their safety and I needed their help. So I got theirs. Okay? I got theirs of the officers that harassed me. And I'm going to name them nameless because we are focusing on specific officers today. But those in the files that I received back, the officer who brutalized and strangled me writes an anonymous complaint to his woman superior saying that this anonymous person heard her say that she needed stronger ammunition to be able to handle Officer Nelson's threat to society. That was placed into her office knowing that that officer was going to have to go to her superior and share what was on that card, and what was on that card was alleged statement that she made saying that she needed stronger ammunition to deal with Officer Nelson's threat to society. First of all, that's sick, but did you hear that? They already know Officer Nelson is a problem. And they joke. They can joke about it. And they can play around with it. Because nobody at the top gives a shit.
Hey, Mr. T,
In fact,
super
the
powerful stuff
officer
going
who
on here. It
received
would be
that
great if you could
complaint
do
and had to take it to
a
his
share or a
superior.
watch party. Super
The
powerful
officer who was
speeches
involved
going
in my
on. Thank
case
you.
told her to bring a bikini. Next time that she comes to training, says just join the wagon, it'll be easier for you, right? Acting Chief Pearson tells Officer Hanson, you know what, just keep your head down. Nobody's, it's going to be easier for you. Just get through your training and just keep your head down. Nobody's going to believe you anyway, is what it says, quote, in the public records files that I received. So if we have that documentation, where's the oversight? Why haven't those been looked into? Why was I able to be strangled
Thank you for sharing,
and lost consciousness and mentally tormented using psychological military tactics, and none of that gets oversight? The mayor saw my video and she said, Victoria, we must have saw two different things. That's why I didn't spark an investigation. The mayor knows E.J. Strickland. Her kids were on the same damn sports team. And that woman is going to support and award the police department and not even listen to her own friend. She will never hear us, and we will never have justice with somebody who condones this violence and celebrates it by giving awards. Imagine that, a group of men who have a secret going out and terrorizing, and when they come home, their mommy and daddy superior gives them an award. What are you creating? You are creating death. You are creating a trap. Just like this setup today. They left that open without those cones across. Just in the short time walking here, 2 cars almost ran in this way, not realizing that it was closed. I finally saw on this side that there were cones there. My friend had brought it up to me. And I said, you know what? We can see something happening because cars have almost swooped in. Why is that lane completely open? The cones weren't there. And so Elaine went and asked them to put those cones there to care about our safety. They don't care. And they intentionally leave us susceptible, just like when they stand over somebody who's dying and needs medical attention, just like when they approach somebody who is having a mental crisis and they need help. It is intentional and it is celebrated in this city. And we are all we have. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. And we are all that we have to keep each other safe. We need to come together and we need to implement something new. The biggest sign of change is coming up with an alternative route. A segue so we don't have to deal with these guys. They're a threat to our lives and they're never going to change. We need to start thinking about how we are going to keep ourselves safe and then getting that funded through the city, since that money is from our pockets. Justice for Jesse.
So my name is Katrina Johnson. June 18th, 2017. Come on up here, Jackie. Jackie is my warrior sister. She came here from Phoenix, Arizona. She's on vacation, but she too lost her son to the police use of deadly force by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. But on June 18th, when my cousin called the police for help to report a burglary, shortly after they arrived at her house, they killed her. They shot her 7 times. She was 14 weeks pregnant. They killed her in front of her babies. They had to step over their mother's dead body to get out of the apartment. No family can recover from that. You'll never be the same again. It changes you forever. And as much as we are fighting for our loved ones, we are equally fighting for you all so that you will never know the pain that all of these families feel, because we don't want you to be part of this club. There is only one way to get into this family, and that is either you being killed or your loved one being killed by the police. We don't want any more members. It is time for Auburn to decide to come out and fight for their own lives. There should be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people here. We are not only here demanding answers for Jesse. We are here so that you have the information so that your family won't be next, so that you won't be next. Because the fact of the matter is they have a serial killer on the police force. If there have only been 5 uses of deadly force in Auburn, and 1 officer is responsible for 3 of those, something is wrong. If you have 65 excessive use of force complaints, when is enough enough? Is it at 70? What has to change before there is accountability within this system? And if you aren't going to bring accountability, well, it's time for the community to rise and demand accountability, because we're tired. We're tired of watching the TV. We're tired of seeing people in community die at the hands of police because they are afraid of our skin. They are afraid of us. You can be a man and they'll be afraid. You can be a woman. It doesn't matter. This is not about race. It's about good and evil. And they are simply killing people with reckless abandonment because there are no checks and balances. And when there are no checks and balances, power gets abused. And they are abusing citizens that they are supposed to be protecting and serving. And I don't want to hear nothing about we have to make split-second decisions, because we're not asking you to make split-second decisions. We're asking you to make the best decision in a split second. And there's a difference between the two. With all of that being said, I just want to bring up the family of Jesse Sarey so they can state their family demands for answers, justice, and accountability into the murder of their loved one. Please come forward, you guys.
Hi, my name is Elaine Simons. I was Jesse Sarey's foster mother when he was 11 years old. We are a big family. With me is his mother, Carrie, brother Colton, cousin Steve, cousin Mary, cousin Kelly, cousin Kenesha, and foster sister Amelia. On June 1st, Well, over the weekend of June 1st, I was listening to the news and watching the news, and I was seeing something go down. And I've gotten to the point in my life, whenever I see someone get killed, I'm like, oh, it's someone I know. On Monday, June 1st, I get a phone call from his brother, Terrell, and he says, Elaine, have you been watching the news? And I'm like, who? And that's when he told me that that was Jesse Sarey, who was killed by the Auburn police. We gathered over at Auntie's house, and we came together, and I'm here today to represent the life of my foster son, Jesse Sarey. He was 11 years old. Up to the time of his ultimately death, he was living homeless in Kent and struggling with mental health issues. He was one of 4 brothers. His younger brother lived with me for 9 years and aged out of the foster care system from my home. He was a funny and sweet young man who was loved by his mother and brothers, and over 27 cousins. He loved Naruto and breakdancing. After 6 months of living with me, Jesse started having some mental health issues and had to go live in an adolescent residential program. We continued to build a bond over the years. His family came to America during the Khmer Rouge from Cambodia to escape being killed. The elders are heartbroken that life in America had been such a difficult journey for the children born here. Jesse is a byproduct of the school-to-prison pipeline and a failed foster care system. I have been an art teacher in King County Youth Detention Center and continue to do that work. And I ran a homeless youth and young adult program in Seattle. How would I know that my own foster child would be a byproduct of a killing by Auburn police? He never had the opportunity to get off the streets and turn his life around. He died at the young age of 26 years old. On a tragic day when Jesse's life was taken, May 31st, 2019, my foster son was having a mental health issue in Auburn, Washington, at a nearby Walgreens. He then walked across the street to the Sunshine Groceries and had calmed himself down. The police were called to the scene. At no time was a mental health response team sent to de-escalate the situation. When Officer Jeff Nelson arrived on the scene, Jesse was sitting in front of the ice machine chewing on ice as it was a hot day. Officer Nelson asked Jesse to stand up and that he was being arrested for disorderly conduct. Jesse questioned this, and they ended up in a physical altercation. The witness stated that Jesse was only asking why he was being arrested, and the police officer stated that Jesse reached for his gun, when in reality Jesse's hand touched the gun. He pulled back, realizing his mistake. The officer then pulled out his gun and turned it to the witness and aimed it at him. Then he turned and shot Jesse in the stomach. Jesse fell to the ground next to the ice machine, and 4 seconds later, he was shot execution style in the head. There was no need for the kill shot, yet killing another unarmed person of color. Our family is still in shock over this senseless killing of Jesse, and we are still grieving. We are hurt and angry at the lack of compassion of life demonstrated by Officer Nelson. We have all gathered here today to show our unity and support to the cause of exposing and eradicating the wrongful practices and civil crimes administered by law enforcement who are mostly targeting people of color throughout the country. With the recent insensitive killing of George Floyd by the hands of Minneapolis police, we are yet again reminded that trouble with over-excessive force fueled by systematic racism is not reformed in any type of fashion, but the currently mentality of many law officers. We must continue to fight, not just for Jesse, which has been premeditated on violence against Black, brown, and Native bodies since American government was established. I never expected, nor would have imagined, that I would be sharing such a horrific experience of the hurt and unanswered questions. Let's always remember remember to keep the memories alive of all the people who had suffered the same fate of Jesse. Only as a unified community and voice can we stop unjust tragedies from happening to yet another family. Only standing in solidarity can we begin to fix a broken system such as this one. Jesse is important due to the fact that I believe Officer Nelson, I don't know where he is, but hello, sir, thought he would get away with killing yet another person of color and a homeless person, and no one would care. Officer Jesse Nelson had murdered 2 other people before he killed my son. He killed the second victim the same way as he did Jess's. That is a M.O. Yet this man is still on the force. He has committed 3 of the entire force, 5 officers involved shooting since 2011. It is only a matter of time that Officer Jeff Nelson will kill again. I am relentless in seeking justice for Jesse. People are going to challenge that Jesse asked for this to happen due to his mental health background and running with the justice system. That should have no bearing for an unjustified killing of yet another unarmed person of color. If we brought this into the narrative, then it is giving permission for police to be the judge, jury, and execution of people they encounter on the streets. What we need not to focus on is the victim's background, as it should have no bearing of what led up to the shooting. With me today is his family members, and it takes a lot of courage for them to come and be in front of you. Did anyone want to speak? I'm going to force it on you. Amelia, the foster sister.
Although I only got to spend a short time with Jesse, he was my brother. He was like my little brother. He was always such a happy, jolly kid every time I got to see and spend time with him. And when Elaine messaged me and told me that my brother had been killed, it was devastating. And finding out that the same officer that murdered him has murdered other people too, and it goes completely unchecked, is just insane. Looking at the racial disparities that we have in our country as a whole, and looking at our police force, these people are supposed to be here to serve and protect. How are you serving and protecting your community when you're murdering people? Who is that serving and protecting? You think you can get away with killing innocent people that haven't done anything except for not agreeing necessarily with what you're doing, ask you questions. All it takes to get murdered by a police officer is asking him a question. Why are you arresting me? There are so many victims, so many victims of police brutality in this country and in this state. And the fact that nobody is checking these police officers. No one. I know for a fact, when I started college when I was 16, after getting my GED, one of the first things I wanted to do was take criminal justice classes because I wanted to be a defense attorney. And I wanted to understand what these officers were taught and what they were supposed to know and how they were supposed to act. One of the first classes I had to take was de-escalation techniques. So explain to me how it is that these officers have had to take de-escalation techniques. They've had to learn it in classrooms, they've had to learn it in on-the-job experience, but yet somehow they can fail to use it time and time and time again, and nobody is checking them. We have serial killers walking around that have been given guns and badges and protection from any sort of repercussions. You murder somebody, you get a paid vacation. And then you get to sit behind a desk for a little bit and relax. And then you get to go back out on the street and you get to murder somebody else. And you get another paid vacation. And then back to some relaxing time in the office. And they expect that we're supposed to sit here and think that this is okay. And it's not okay. The time of being quiet about it and just sitting back and being compliant and accepting that they're police officers, so they know what they're doing, right? They're supposed to protect and serve. They took an oath to protect and serve their communities. How are they protecting and serving my brother when they murdered him in cold blood because he had an attitude?
You don't assassinate on the streets.
When did you become judge, jury, and executioner? What part of your policing classes did they teach you that that was okay? You think it's okay to just keep murdering innocent people and that we're just supposed to be okay with it and stand silently by while you continue to murder our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, our mothers, and our fathers? Well, it is time for this to end now. So many times this happens, over and over and over. It's time for people to stand up. Luckily, things like what happened to my brother are out in the news now. It's happening across the country. People are finally starting to wake up and pay attention. And not just those of us that are black and brown, because they seem to think our voices don't matter. But it's gotta stop. As much as we are out protesting and trying to bring the change that needs to happen, there needs to start being some accountability in this system. And it needs to happen now. No justice?
No peace!
The Sarey family are very quiet. Oh, Steven's about to wake up. Woo-hoo!
How's everybody doing? I've never really done anything like this. Never experienced anything like this at all, and I hope nobody else goes through this. And I'm sorry for the other family that has experienced the same thing that we've experienced. Why do they have to pass a law for them to do something common sense? Common sense. Who walks around here with a bulletproof vest, with a baton or a nightstick, a taser, a mace, their gun, and extra magazines? And you said you feel like you're threatened? Come on now. Oh, and a knife. Cuffs. And some of them have dogs, like Officer Nelson. Man, Officer Nelson, I think, is about 6 foot something. My cousin is about 5'4", unarmed. He was threatened, huh? I love how they come up with all these excuses of, oh, I felt threatened, my life was threatened. Well, you know, if you got a job as a firefighter, you wouldn't complain about getting burned. Come on now. Really. If I was working at Walmart and got caught stealing an apple, I'll be fired and banned from Walmart probably forever. But you get to kill 3 people and have nothing but complaints. Nobody got nothing nice to say about this man. But he's still on the force getting paid. Isn't it our tax money paying for them to protect us? Come on, man. You know, this is crazy. This is just crazy. And it sucks that right now, they're standing above us, standing to our right, standing to our left, standing all around us. They got this whole place blocked off. I don't think they're here to protect us.
No.
I don't think so.
Nope.
I think they're ready to for stuff to pop off, and I think they hope that everything pops off right now, so they can start popping off. Yeah. Yeah. We have nothing on us. They have everything on them. That whole building behind us right now is full of artillery. A holding cell for whatever. Why do they have so much money to come out here and AKA supposedly use all of this thing to protect us and watch out for us? But they're using everything that they use to protect us against us. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's unheard of. Common sense. You show up, you get a call about something, go figure out what the problem is. Instead of making it worse, come on now. And the first thing they do is throw my cousin's record, his criminal history, on the news, so it can justify why he got killed. He's a bad person. He has this, he has that, he's done this, he's done that. We all know not everybody's perfect. Some people make mistakes, some people have mental illness, and you know, that's not an excuse for nothing, but
no excuse to be killed.
Exactly. And what did he really do to get killed that day? Sound like he had a bad day. You know? I saw my cousin's body. I got him his clothes for his funeral. I requested to see his body before they dressed him. I wanted to see where the first shot went in, and if it came out, and I wanted to see the second shot, how it went in and how it came out. The last kill shot was to his face, above his eyebrow. Not in and out, downwards. So that means he was hovering over him while my cousin was looking down. It went this way. He wasn't making eye contact, he wasn't doing that, he was on the ground, holding his stomach. He didn't even see the other one coming. Crazy. Wild.
Arrest the police! Arrest!
Ask them, what do they train with most? Because every time I look around and I get on the internet, it's them at the gun range. Not learning how to use their handcuffs, their baton, their taser, their mace, their nothing. It's always a gun. When you get pulled over and a cop approaches you, the first thing he has is his hand is right on his gun. Why is his hand always resting there? He's always ready for a threat. Everyone's always a threat to them, but they signed up to protect us. Wild. Wild. You know? I mean, I'm not saying all of them are bad.
They're quiet.
I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm not saying all of them signed up for this job to do bad things or whatever. Because some of them do have good intentions. But where are they at? I don't know where they're at. How come the good ones are not talking and going against the bad ones? Crazy. And if they do go against their own, they're a traitor in their eyes.
Yep.
Something happens to them. Maybe get transferred, maybe lose their job or something. But this is crazy. Wild. They're supposed to watch us. I'm cool, I'll watch myself. It sucks because my cousin, he was doing very good while
still dealing with mental health, but he's still able to maintain. He might have had his own demons that he was dealing with, but who doesn't? Okay? Not a death sentence.
Mental health
Yes.
does not mean that you should be condemned to your death.
No one wants to have mental problem, mental health. No one asks for that. But they should be the type of people who should help these type of people. You shouldn't have to have mental health or mental problem for them to help you. They should be the help. They are the help. They're supposed to be the help. But a law has to be passed for them to de-escalate something that they're supposed to do. That's in their training. But I guess it seems like everything has to be redone, rewritten, taken down, built back up, so everybody else can feel safe.
Let's do the work!
Yeah. And for everybody's picture that's on that table that's no longer here with us, I hope they're looking down on us and everybody else and watch us work.
From the Sarey family, we thank you. We're going to pass this on. We've got a lot of powerful speakers ahead. Thank you.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Next up, we will have Simran. If you could come forward, please. Where are you?
Hi everyone, my name is Simran Chhatri. I want to start by telling you guys how I met Elaine Simons. I was at CHOP a couple months ago listening to people speak about police brutality. Someone who stood out to me was Elaine. From first glance, I was interested in what she had to say since it seemed as if people around her didn't want her to speak. After a couple dozen speakers, she finally came on stage and spoke. And when I tell you the whole crowd was dead silent, I mean you could hear a pin drop. Everything she said, I could tell she felt very strongly about. The fact that she was fighting for her foster son that she didn't even have under her care for that long shows the type of person she is. And the type of person she is a person with a big heart. Sorry, one second. After hearing her speak, I wanted to do anything I could to help her. I presented her an idea to create a petition from change.org. Change.org. Those of you who don't know what change.org is, it's a website where you can start campaigns, mobilize supporters, increase media presence, and work with the decision makers to drive solutions. We worked on this petition for over 7 hours, and as soon as we posted it, we got an overwhelming amount of supporters. And with the petition, it has helped us spread the word across the area. The biggest end goal for us is that Jesse Sarey and his family get justice for the wrongful killing of Jesse Sarey. We want to make it clear everyone about our demands, and that is, number 1, drop all lawsuits that are prohibiting the inquest process so families of loved ones can have answers and accountability, including Auburn, Renton, Kent, Federal Way, and the King County Sheriff's Office. Number 2, firing, arrest, and charge Officer Jeff Nelson for the murder of Jesse Sarey. Not only will this case be the first in 30 years to charge a police officer in Washington State for murder, it will also open the doors for other cases around America seeking accountability and justice for their loved ones. It will set precedents for all the hundreds and hundreds of cases that deserve the same type of justice. Number 3, defund the Auburn Police Department by 50%. Number 4, solidarity for the other families whose loved ones have been killed by Auburn and open their cases. Number 5, police should be wearing dash cams. Currently, patrol cops do not even wear them. Body cam, sorry. And number 6, restorative justice approach to education in the police academy, where they need to come face to face with families impacted by police violence to create culture of empathy. Ongoing professional development and classes on verbal and physical de-escalation, mental health issues, harm reduction, and substance abuse. Now, can everyone raise their hand if they have a smartphone on them right now? Oh, that's everyone. Okay. Now, can you please pull out your phone? Go on Safari and search change.org or Chrome. Thank you. Now, if you guys are there on the website, can you please search Jesse Sarey? If you don't know how to spell his name, it's everywhere. It's everywhere around you.
Where is the search box?
Where's the search?
Where's the search?
It's like in the corner.
It's at the top right corner.
Yeah.
There are 3 lines. You hit that and it'll say change. Thank you. You're welcome.
It's a bad user experience. Yes.
After doing that, can you guys give me a thumbs up if we're on the same page right now? Yeah? Okay. Could you please sign that petition? So the last thing I'm going to tell you guys to do, I hope everyone has signed the petition. Lift 4 fingers up if you have at least 4 friends or family members. Even if you don't have a lot of friends, it's 4. Okay, that's good. For every second between the first shot and the deadly shot fired at Jesse was 4 seconds. Now could you please send the link and the petition to 4 of your friends and family right now?
I've put a link into the feed. If you want to go ahead and click on that link, you can sign the change.org petition. You don't have to search for it. Matter of fact, I've just made it the pinned post.
If you guys could give me a thumbs up if you guys are done with that, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Please feel free to help yourself to some snacks, some water, anything that you need for self-care. Next up, we'll have Savannah.
Hi. Yeah, I'm
I don't want to take up too much space because I recognize that I'm a guest here, both to this land, not being indigenous to these lands, and also to this space, being somebody who's not one of the directly impacted families. I guess I just wanted to, today's been, sorry, I'm a little bit discombobulated because it's been kind of a long day. I just came from the sentencing hearing of 2 Pacific Islander boys, James and Jerome Talafosia. And when I was sitting there, of course I was thinking of them, but I was also thinking of Jesse, mainly because they were staring down up to 90 years in prison, and they're 21 and 22 right now. And it was interesting to hear the prosecutor and the judge talk about accountability and responsibility, and also talk about violence, because when I think about who really has the true capacity to commit the most amount of violence, it isn't these 2 young boys who, much like Jesse,
Hi, Dr. Mrs. Malcontent.
weren't just a part of the school to prison pipeline, they were part of the CPS to school to prison pipeline.
Yes.
So, I just kept thinking about this gathering or this rally that we were going to have today, as the judge and the prosecutor talked about violence. And I don't know, I just got so angry. I got filled with this rage. I wanted to scream, and I think part of that was basically being there from 9 to 4 as these predominantly white folks made these decisions about these 2 young people, but took them and their family struggles outside of its context. You know, they didn't honor and recognize the traumas that being displaced from your ancestral homelands is. I'm Khmer, I'm a young Khmer person, so, my family came here as refugees. They came here as survivors of a genocide and a war. And so, with James and Jerome, much like Jesse, the system was just completely dehumanizing them. Even their own lawyers were talking about them like they weren't there, talking about IQ, talking about the brain development, talking about all these things, and I understood that it was to make a case, but I thought, wow, like these are the people that are supposed to be on their side, but they're still participating in this system that strips them of their dignity and their humanity. And then I thought about Jesse, and I thought about all of the people on this table who are experiencing that even in their deaths, when people are shot and killed by police, like many of the families here have expressed, the first thing that the police do is try and paint a picture. So I just also want to say I am in awe, and I'm honored to be here and sharing space with the families who are standing in their truth and speaking the truth in front of the institution that is trying to strip them of it. I was really disconnected, but when I came here and I started together the altar and families came out to help, it felt really centering. Because, like I said, I feel like I just wanted to do my best to honor and pay my respects to the families, but also to the victims, because the system is never going to do that for them. That's not what the system was built for us. And I also wanted to call in my Khmer community. I see some of us here, but not a lot. Now is the time. Now is the time to show up. Now is the time to organize and mobilize, both for Black liberation, because we know that that is our liberation as well. We have work to do. We know that. And I'm up here just trying to make the commitment to do my best to support the Sarey family and to support the other families as well. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. And as a reminder to the audience, these stories that the families have shared aren't just for your consumption. They aren't for you to just listen to. They're for you to take with you, to remember as you move the way you feel like you need to move to get free. Thank you.
Next, we will have Joe Sherilyn, homeless advocate.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Joe Turland, and I am here to honor the life of Jesse Sarey. I want to share something that I wrote after he was killed. I'm bothered. Bothered that a young man, 26, lost his life and no one seems to care. Bothered that people I care about were nearby, and as I ask how they are resigned to it, accepting of it, like it is our new norm. I'm bothered that a man was shot and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and he was shot again. They knew him. They called him by name, Jesse. If you knew him and called him by name, you knew his battles. You knew that he walked and talked to combat the voices that were vying for his attention and direction. You knew he self-medicated to quiet everything, every voice, every twitch, to rest the body. You knew him, you called him by name, Jesse. I'm bothered that we as a community didn't do more. We didn't try harder. I'm bothered that we're asleep, that we're inactive. I'm worried that nothing will come of his death. I'm bothered that there has been no accountability. I'm bothered that he was always tired, always. He was tired because the battle within never stopped. It never took a pause. He was neither present nor absent, but caught in this torment in between. But I knew him by name, Jesse. I know that he was loved. He was loved by people who wanted to protect him from the elements of being outside. He was loved by a family far and wide. Open your eyes. Start conversations. Ask questions. There are more Jessies around us than you care to admit to.
Truth.
What will be different next time? Say his name.
Jesse.
Look, having a mental health crisis and being homeless should not be a death sentence.
Truth.
And they knew him. They had dealt with him earlier in the day. Jesse was having an awful, horrible, no good day. And I can tell you this, if anyone else had interacted with Jesse that day, any one of us had interacted with Jesse that day, he'd be alive today. He would be alive. But an officer was sent out to deal with a situation he knows nothing about. He was ill-equipped and untrained. Not to work with Jesse that day. So please, we have to start conversations. We have to ask questions. There has to be accountability for actions so extreme that it took a life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Next, we'll have Paul Patu. Paul here.
My name is Paul Patu, and this is my wife, Chantel Patu. We have been working with young people, particularly black and brown youth and their families in South Seattle for upwards of 20 years. first thing that hit me when I came here were the stories and the pictures of the young people that have been lost to violence. And as I sat there and stared at their faces and looked at their names, I thought to myself, how could a person look into the face of our young people and take their lives with no remorse? The only thing that I could think of why this happens the way it does over and over and over again is they do not see themselves in our young people. They do not see themselves in our young people. How else can you look at a young lady or a young man and shoot them in the head unless you do not see yourself in them? My heart is broken by the stories of the families that are here. We stand with you because we are you. We stand with you because we are you. I have been to more funerals than I can count. Watching old people bury young people. Watching parents bury young people. This is not the way life ought to be. This is not normal. We have to leave this place not only moved by the moment, but moved for the movement. I don't need your emotion and your sympathy only right now. I need you to do something. Take that energy, take that passion, take the memory of your loved ones and do something. Vote, show up to something. Get behind something. M.L. King said it best, if a man hasn't found anything in his life worth dying for, he isn't fit to live. He isn't fit to live. This is my story. This is your story. My white brothers and sisters, hear me. We need your allyship, but we need you to take a step back. Brown and black communities are traumatized. We need space to heal. We need to be amongst our brothers and sisters and just heal. Take a step back. Take a step back and give us space to heal. But don't leave, because we need you in the struggle. We need you in the struggle. We don't need you to be our mouthpieces. This time we need you to have our back. We need you to have our back when we're going and trying to change policies, if we're going and trying to change laws. We need your vote. And y'all got to start talking to your people. You need to be advocating for us. It's exhausting. I have really good, well-intentioned white friends, and they want me to be their guide to all things brown. I can't be that. I need you to sit with our pain for a minute. Let our pain teach you about our culture.
Truth.
Let our pain teach you about what the injustices is, and then move and act. Black and brown people, particularly my black brothers and sisters, your story is our story. The Black Lives Matter movement, we stand on the people that built this country. We stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and the black community. Black and brown people moving together Hashtag move together. When I say move, you say together. Move
together.
Move together. Move together. We got to start walking together, healing together. We got to throw each other the rock every now and then. We have to start investing in black and brown businesses. Put our money where our mouth is. It's time for change, y'all. And it happens now, but don't just be moved by this moment. Be moved by the movement. God bless you. Thank you.
Tremendous speaker. For those of you just tuning in, we're at a Justice for Jesse in Auburn, Washington, broadcasting live about 30 miles south of Seattle.
Next, we will have 442 come up.
My name is Komopri. My name is Lika Sai.
My name is Gibran.
We're from 442, which is a youth group in Kent, Washington, that's nearby. I'm also from South King County Mutual Aid, South King County Eastside Mutual Aid. And we're here both as 442, but also 3 of us as Asian Pacific Islander folks. And tonight is another night where I see not so many of us unless we have a connection to the immediate community involved. And that's a continued pattern, but Asian Pacific Islander communities, particularly other South Asian communities, and Punjabi and Sikh, we're often not here. And we, at least for me as a Sikh, I come from a region, a homeland where police violence was why we left. And to come here and have this false sense of you become a part of the model minority, you don't be loud, you stay quiet, and you will be quote unquote safe, is not the reality. But that's what we're told to do. And I'm hoping that tonight, with us here, the folks of us here, those of us here who are Asian Pacific Islander, we can start disrupting that. We can start talking about that here in South King County in our cities, because that's where we are. We are in Kent, Auburn, Renton, Tukwila, Federal Way, the cities that are trying to stop families from being able to get the information they need to understand what happened to their loved ones when they were murdered by the police. We should be furious constantly. We should be always enraged. I'm here and I see and I'm trying to take care of the altar with family members, and I'm nothing but angry. Angry and wanting to be in solidarity and wanting to start that healing, because we're raised in white supremacy. We're raised in state violence. We're told in our schools that we're supposed to trust the police, but we're supposed to trust the process. Where the hell is the process? Where the hell is the police are watching us over our head and laughing at us? They teach us not to trust our communities, not to trust each other as black and brown and indigenous folks, but that's what we have, is each other. And that's why we're here tonight, and hopefully every other night and every day organizing together.
I just wanted to first just thank the families for allowing us to be able to speak here in front of you. What we know about police violence and what we know about white supremacy is that it's just an arm of the way this country has built its system. The American colonial project is built off of the backs of black people through slavery, genocide of indigenous people, and then it was exported. It was exported to Southeast Asia, it was exported to South Asia, it was exported to Latin America, into Africa, and that colonial project destroyed these countries, created refugees who came here and fled thinking they were finding the freedom that they were destroying their countries for. And then they find that they get shot in the streets. And then we find out that black people have been destroyed and killed in this country and brutalized in ways that they have just learned to teach people in other countries to do to our people. And then we come here and then we see that violence. And so when we see people like Henry Kissinger, who carpet bombed Cambodia and sent refugees here, and carpet bombed other countries, Bangladesh and parts of South Asia, and then they come here as refugees, and then we see he's still not ever held accountable, then why would we ever think Jeff Nelson would be held accountable? But we say that stops today. We say that stops today. We want accountability here, and then we want accountability there as well. We want you to drop that lawsuit of the inquest process. Because black and brown people, we understand that this all is connected. The way Israeli police train police in this country, the way that they brutalize Palestinians, they've taught the police here in America to brutalize black people here as well. And so we have to understand that this is all connected and that we should all realize that we are not going to fall victim to this system anymore. Thank you very much.
Just to close this out, I just wanted to point out something that Kamal said, that Gibran has been saying, is that as API folks, we, like Kamal said, just that we are constantly told that the model minority myth protects us, that it serves us. But really what it's done is drive wedges between us and our communities. It's driven wedges between API folks and black communities. And white dominant culture has taught API folks that that our success, that our value hinges on our assimilation to whiteness, right? And it's easy for us to get lost in that. It's easy for us to fall for that, thinking that it makes our lives better. And then we see situations like Jesse's murder, and we're reminded that these systems, like systems of policing and punishment, and the police state, are only designed to serve white supremacy. They're not designed to serve anything else but white supremacy. And at the end of the day, they're targeting all of us, and we see how it manifests in different ways. We see how for black folks, it manifests through surveillance, through incarceration, through murder by the police state, and for API folks, it manifests in a number of different ways. But we see here that we're showing up to fight for each other in all of the ways that white supremacy comes after all of us. And our coming together today serves as a reminder that despite the systems that are trying to drive our communities apart, we have the power to come together in solidarity with one another. We're coming together to demand justice for Jesse, for Isaiah, for EJ, for Giovanni, for Renee, for Charlena, for Malik, for Leonard, for Yosia, and so many others that still go unnamed from our communities. And at least for the three of us as API folks, we're standing in solidarity with our black community members, with our black neighbors, to say that Black Lives Matter. With 442, thank you.
All right, next is Bunte here.
Can we get it one more time for the resilient families that's putting us on their back one more time? And can we give it up for all the speakers, all the organizers that put this all together? My name is Buntai. I'm a Khmer refugee. Like Jesse's family, I came here the same way they did. My family escaped the genocide, and I came here when I was a year old. We heard a lot today about systems and the way in which black and brown folks are cycled into the system and oppressed for profit, right? For profit. And many times, our own tax dollars are being used to oppress us so that white supremacy can make money off of us.
That's right.
Truth.
I think that for a lot of our community members, or black and brown community members, you know, the white supremacy keeps getting creative and thinks of different ways in which they can profit off our bodies. And for Southeast Asians especially Cambodians, especially Khmer folks, not only are we sent into the school to prison deportation pipeline, you know, we're used up and then we're shipped back to the very country that my man earlier was talking about, Nixon carpet bombing.
That's right.
That carpet bombing set off a lot of instability in Cambodia, which led to the reasons why which we are here, which led to a genocide that brought us here. And this idea of resettlement and bringing us here, we thought we were coming to a place where there was peace, but our oppressors continue to oppress us. And so I just want to, you know, I'm honored to be here amongst all y'all, because we know that the struggle and liberation, all of ours, is tied together.
That's right.
And so I'm very blessed and honored to be here. With that said, can somebody please share one of the demands real quick?
Keep on Auburn police 50%.
Thank you. What's another one?
Drop the inquest lawsuit.
Drop the inquest lawsuit. What's another one? Arrest Officer Jeff Nelson. Thank you. I'm gonna share a piece that I wrote. Coincidentally, it's tied to the oppression of, you know, Southeast Asian and Khmer folks, and kind of the irony in which white supremacy and colonialism continues to play in the ways in which we live here, right? Give me a second, I'm gonna pull it up.
Educate them.
So I wrote this piece just thinking about the ways in which, you know, the Khmer community, some of which live trying to get as close as possible to whiteness, live, and the ways in which when we come here we're taught that getting as close to whiteness is the way to be American. So that means you have to be anti-black. So this piece is written kind of with that thought in mind, and related to the ways in which the U.S. Carpet bombed Cambodia. Where do you work? Boeing. You say with a softened tone that makes the syllables pliable to stretching the word out like the cheese in your fried mozzarella sticks. Khmer people were working at Boeing with a badge of honor, as if given the graveyard shift on a 787 MAX line was being given a hall pass because now you could skip classes and substitute cafeteria food for Olive Garden. Khmer refugees stepped off of Boeing jets at SeaTac Airport as part of the largest refugee resettlement program in the United States history, ushered in by the wave of President Carter's pen. An enclave that sprang up was in White Center, where Khmer refugees found a community in King County Housing Authority's Park Lake Homes, housing that had been repurposed from World War II era dwellings built to house Boeing workers that built machines of war along the Duwamish River. When Khmer families could afford to leave Park Lake Homes, many settled in nearby South Park, a neighborhood in the Duwamish Valley that shares shoreline with many Boeing plants and buildings along the river, a river in which the diaspora fished for salmon and the connecting bay for squid to make their traditional amok, trai, and nyom muk. But the origins of this Thanksgiving didn't begin there. On 18 March 1969, 48 Boeing B-52 Stratofortress bombers arrived over Base Area 353, the Fishhook region of eastern Cambodia, to deliver 2,900 tons of leftovers from a Pentagon planning session at which the bombing run was devised, named Operation Breakfast. Between bites of fried mozzarella sticks, H.R. Haldeman, Nixon's chief of staff, noted that the final decision to carpet bomb Cambodia was made, quote, at a meeting in the Oval Office Sunday afternoon after the church service. In his diary on 17 March 1969, Haldeman wrote, "Historic day, Kissinger, Operation Breakfast finally came off at 2 p.m. our time. Kissinger, really excited, as is president. The people loved the food so much in Nixon's terms that he decided to give more. 5 more meals were greenlit. Lunch, base area 609. Snack, base area 351. Dinner, base area 352. Supper, base area 740. And dessert, base area 350. The bloating amount of food began a domino effect of destabilization that would soon result in the deaths of millions and a genocide and displacement of even more from homes to labor camps, from labor camps to refugee camps, and eventually into the former homes of the people who built the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress bombers. Between 1952 to 1962, a bulk of the 744 bombers would be assembled by workers living in private homes. And now, many of those that were showered by the meals and their children and grandchildren now work in the various Boeing plants across the Salish Sea region in Kent, Renton, Seattle, and Everett. Dear Mr. Nixon, your leftover ordinance, almost 3 million, we still eat full of anguish, bowls of craters left behind.
Is Olivia still here from DSA?
I apologize for reading from my phone. I just got word that I was going to speak at this last night, so please forgive me. I want to say thank you to Elaine Simmons, the Sarey family, and Katrina Johnson for organizing this rally for Jessie Sarey. I can't imagine how difficult it is to organize while in mourning. I'm sending you lots of love. My name is Olivia. My pronouns are she, her. I'm here in solidarity as a Black woman whose family have also been victims of police brutality. Also here on behalf of Seattle DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. I'm the co-chair for the Afro-Socialist and Socialist of Color Caucus for DSA. If you're not familiar with Seattle DSA, we are a local political organization organizing on Duwamish territory, which is now called Seattle. On behalf of DSA, we want to say that we stand in solidarity with the families impacted in their fight to demand justice. We support their following demands. 1, to hold Officer Jeff Nelson and the Auburn Police Department accountable. 2, to have Officer Nelson fired and charged with murder, because that's what he is, a murderer. 3, to create a requirement of body cameras on the Auburn police officers. And 4, to defund the Auburn Police Department by 50% and reinvest those funds in disenfranchised communities, because that's where it belongs. The system failed, neglected, and murdered Jessie. We need to defund the police department that murdered Jessie and relocate those funds to the community that could have assisted Jessie in thriving. Also, DSA stands with Jessie's family and friends in demanding the dropping of the lawsuits filed against King County Executive Dow Constantine that have stopped inquest reforms from moving forward, including Auburn, Renton, Kent Federal Way, and the King County Sheriff's Office. This is paramount for the many families and community waiting to get justice for their loved ones who were murdered. Solidarity for all the other families that are here as well. It's an honor to be here, and I've learned a lot listening to all of you speak today. I want to speak out to Jesse's mother, Elaine, and Jesse's family, as well as the other families whose loved ones were murdered.
His mother Carrie's here as well.
And Mother Carey, thank you. Please know myself and Seattle DSA are with you in this fight. Katrina allowed Seattle DSA to assist in organizing a march to Seattle Mayor's Mansion to demand justice for Katrina's cousin, Charlena Lyles, who was killed by the Seattle police, as we talked about today. And our march helped inspire a number of other marches, including additional protests outside Seattle's politicians' homes. All the marches succeeded in pressuring the City Council to pledge support for our movement's main demand in Seattle, which is 50% cuts to the Seattle police budget. So we've made great stride in Seattle. We have not yet won the full 50% cut. We have been demanding because the Democrats on the City Council are making excuses. But yesterday we won some small but important cuts to the police budget. And we are continuing our fight for the full 50% cut. I hope you all continue your fight too, because our protest movement has a lot of public support right now, which means we do have the power to force the people in power to at least make a few changes.
Florida checking in.
DSA will not hesitate to give all our resources, time, love, and people from our organization to support your fight here in Auburn. For example, we have thousands of supporters in Seattle, and we would love to publicize your protests, your social media, through our email, and give you support on the grounds. I want to give everyone space, but if you need help from me, from Seattle DSA, please approach me during this rally at any time if you need anything at all. I would like to quote Brother Malcolm X, we are not outnumbered, we are out organized. Seattle DSA wants to help organize. Thank you for having me.
Next, we will have Miles Stanberry.
Hello, my name is Miles Stanberry. I work with Crystal Clockworks, a nonprofit in South Seattle that caters to POC, LGBTQ, disabled, and other disenfranchised communities. About the model minority myth, and I appreciate all of, I'm not Asian American myself, I'm not API, I'm black, white, and indigenous, and I'd also like to thank the original occupants of this land for letting us speak here, because not everybody is asking permission to occupy this territory that we're on. I just wanted to speak to the Asian community in general about this myth about the model minority and how destructive it can be. I grew up in the South End, and I remember most of my friends growing up were Asian, but a lot of people I wasn't allowed in their house because I was black. I was snuck in through back windows and all that, and oftentimes my Asian friends were more criminal than me. I had a lot of guys who ran with YLT, TRG, all that shit. They would be at bumping heads with each other, but I was chill in the middle of that. But all of these Asians who think this shit doesn't affect them, they think that racism isn't going to affect them. When we're all gone, you'll be the next target. How long do you think it's going to be before we have an indigenous or an Asian president? How many wars have we fought in Central Asia, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Asia in general? How come the fucking Republican Party can talk about police brutality in Hong Kong, but it doesn't want to talk about it here? Is this precedent for another fucking occupation? Is it? Crimes against humanity. Xinjiang, for instance. How many fucking kids do we have in cages here? How many kids do we have in cages here? Right? Did World War II ever end? Are we in a fascist state? Are we going after any socialist country? Are we, what the fuck? You're in a country, the refugees here left brutality built by us to come here to a place where you are put on a fucking killing floor. We're getting eradicated one by one by one. These cops are playing fucking cowboys and Indians with us, all right? And I don't care what color you are as an Asian, yellow, dark skin, obviously they're gonna shoot Cambodians first, right? Because they look more like niggas. They're gonna go after Filipinos, right? Because they look more like niggas. Any place, any city like Auburn, for instance, where there's less black people, who do you think they're gonna shoot next? The natives, the Pacific Islanders, the Hispanics. Well, what happens when they're gone? All the Chinese and Japanese who think that they're fucking safe, they're gonna be next. What happened today, 75 years ago? 75 years ago today, this shithole of a government dropped a nuclear fucking bomb on Hiroshima. Right? And Nagasaki. 140,000 people dead. Model minority death, bro. 75 years ago. 85 years ago. The Brooklyn Zoo held a man in the zoo with an orangutan because he was a pygmy, right? Within 10 years of that, they had an entire tribe of Filipinos in the Coney Island Zoo. These people don't look at us as humans. We are not humans to them. Even as science proves that they have fucking Neanderthal DNA. Sorry, I'm white too. That's another fucking thing. Anytime I talk ill of the white race, and you look at me funny, my fucking dad's blonde with blue eyes. He might have some Cherokee in him. My mom might be part native, but he's white passing. I have just as much a right to criticize the white race as I do the black race. Right? Right? But they still can't see us as humans. They still can't see us as humans. It hasn't been 100 years since they kept Asians and Africans literally in zoos.
This is true.
Children went missing from these displays where they kept Filipinos in zoos. In zoos. I don't care if you worship a white man, Jesus Christ, you are not going to be saved. You are not an animal. It clearly says in the Bible that slavery is allowed. Why did you come here? Why are we here if we're just going to continue to be treated like animals? If we're not going to rise up now,
it is true.
We're headed towards another Holocaust. We're in another Holocaust. Already we have the President of the United States claiming that Antifa is a terrorist group. Antifa means anti-fascist. You guys realize that we live in a country where there are brown children in cages, black people working in labor fucking camps, right? Black people working in labor camps, Latin folk working in labor camps, indigenous folk working in labor camps. Yes, private prisons are labor camps. But our government continues to point their finger at any successful country that is ran by non-whites and try to make precedent to invade them under the guise of human rights, while we violate every fucking human right. And right now we can't even run home because the borders are closed.
Truth.
Think about that too, because I've thought about it. But we shouldn't run, because there's souls of people lost here on this land that deserve for this shit to be repatriated and broken away from this system of white supremacy that has been eradicating us. So I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do. Because I understand that some people might want to get out of this shithole of a country. We've been living in an illusion. The only thing we have in this country is a bunch of rich white men who want to exploit our young men, our women, and our children. Honestly, do we have the highest life expectancy rate? No. We have the highest death rate of the coronavirus. Woo! And we had 4 months. We had 4 months to prepare ourselves. But our racist ass government couldn't listen to the head. I mean, honestly, I don't know what to say, but we need to hold these cops accountable. And every time you tell somebody we need to defund the police, because I honestly feel like that was a bad hashtag for something that isn't literally defunding the police. We're taking away 50% of what they have and investing that in the community. But we also need mental health specialists to be the first people to respond. Okay? A perfect example would be Cahoots, the model that they use in Eugene, Oregon. They shouldn't be the first people to come when you call 911. The police should not. We should have somebody else come firsthand. And until we get that done, we need to be out here doing whatever you can in your power, in our power, to make this change happen. Thank you for the time, and thank all the families for coming out. I've also endured police brutality, but I don't want to go through the long list of people who I know who have died, or through the cases that I've gone through personally. But I want to thank everybody for coming out and thank all the families for sharing your stories.
Hi everybody. Before I turn this back over to Katrina, Katrina's been my mentor. I know that sounds really funny, but I met her through this new family, and she has helped me through this, putting together this rally. And I just want to really bring her up here. This is something that I want to give to you. I want to thank her for all her support and helping me with the organizational stuff. This is a little gift for you, and I just want to thank her. Joining the Families on the Front Line has been really a healing process for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone, and with the Sarey family, we are very honored that people have come out to not just celebrate Jesse, but to also celebrate a lot of people's lives who have lost. We are going to bring the Sarey family back up, and if you can bring up the banner, we're going to close this out.
We are all family, so I would do it. I don't need any sort of but I appreciate you.
So let's all stand up, please. My last name is Simon. Simon says, stand up. No, sorry, bad joke. I grew up with that all my life. Can we please raise our hands? The number 4. I would like to take 4 seconds for silence at 8:35 on May 31st, 2019. Jesse Sarey died. Thank you. Thanks to all the people that came together from the different Asian Pacific Island community, bringing us together in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Say his name. Jesse Sarey. Thank you.
Miss Oliver, we let you escape tonight. Just so you know.
see. It's about the best I can do with the cables. All right, so what's going to happen is, come on. What's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because we're wrapping up here. I'm going to head back up to Seattle. I don't know if I'm going to broadcast again tonight because I don't know if there's anything else going on. I know I'm not going to be able to catch up with the Everyday March at this point. This was a powerful, moving event. I'm going to say it again. I hate swinging the band hammer, right? This wasn't your night trolls, right? This was like coming in and talking shit in a funeral tonight. And that's why we were just real heavy with the band hammer. It's not your night. So as much as we love that you helped the AI, some of y'all would be better off if you just listened a little bit and didn't think in binary. Anyway, that's it. Please support independent media. There's information up there on Venmo, PayPal. Become a patron. You know, it's not cheap doing this. So with that, Malcontent out. Maybe back later.